Hi, I'm Gary White
And I'm Yvonne McNary.
for Central Kentucky Talks, and today we're talking about doodling. Are you a doodler, Yvonne?
Occasionally, if you're on the phone for a while and they put you on hold, I tend to doodle a little bit. How about you?
Anything particular, or just like shapes and stuff?
It just depends on, I guess, the day or what I'm watching or doing. Some days circles, some days squares, some days little weird pictures.
Put it all out
You
there.
put it all out there, yes.
Well, we're going to actually talk with a man who has written a book about doodling called Heavy Sketches. His name is Red Roll. Hi, Red. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, hi, Red.
Hi.
Absolutely. Now, like we said, you've written the book called Heavy Sketches, and it's kind of about doodling. But tell us, how did this book come about?
Well, it was years in the making, and ever since third grade, I'd say, as far back as I can remember. The teachers were teaching, and I was not paying attention and sitting in the classroom, doodling and getting in trouble constantly. That went all the way through till college, believe it or not. And I saved all my sketches. One day I just kind of had an idea to put them all together in a book. And then, since I'm also a teacher, I decided to, of course, add words and stories so that this book could be not only a book of sketches, but could be a book that, the students would have in class and be able to read.
Okay. So the book is actually a compilation of your drawings.
It is, yes. 30 years worth of my drawings from,
Wow.
like I said, probably the earliest that I've kept or that I have in the book is 8th grade, and of course I'm 46, so that's a lot of drawing.
Yes, it is. Now, does it show, like, from the very beginning up to where you are now? Can you see any big differences?
Well, in the book it doesn't show that. The book is kind of if you remember the Mad magazine back in the day,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's still out, but this one is, so it's sequential. It goes back and forth. I've mixed my 8th grade drawings in with my college drawings, and you don't really see a progression in there.
Okay.
It's just kind of a back and forth kind of style.
Okay, very good. So you became an educator, is that correct? As
Yes.
well? Okay, so you were saying that kind of you noticed that students were doodling. Is that something that students continue to do today?
They do, and and I was one of those students, and
Right.
a lot of times we get in trouble for doodling, or get in
Yeah.
trouble for not having our eyes glued on the teacher. And studies have found that a lot of people who are doodling, even those squares and circles, like you were saying, are able to pay attention a little bit better. 60% of us are visual learners. So
Okay.
the take on it that I have about the doodling part is, when I go around to schools and talk with the teachers and students, instead of just having a student just take the verbatim notes in 8th grade, paragraph after paragraph, word after word, they're able to embellish them a little bit and add, if they want to, because a lot of kids can draw, but a lot of kids think that they can't, can draw a little think side. If they're learning about Revolutionary War, they could draw the flag, they could draw, an army, and it just kind of connects the visual with the learning, with the kinesthetic, which is the drawing piece. So it seems like the kids are, at least the schools I've been in, they're remembering more, the test scores are better, they're more enthusiastic about learning, and it makes the teacher's job easier.
So the doodling actually, instead of becoming a distraction, kind of becomes a way of forcing them to focus more on what they're learning by giving them that outlet to still draw.
Right, and I think, especially nowadays with the gizmos and gadgets out there that all the kids have, we need to be doing something differently in the classroom. For just the old school, and I'm old school, but I'm not so much old school as, hey, everything I say you need to listen to me, and everybody learns in their own style.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I often found that doodling was relaxing. Do any of the students ever say that it helps to relax them?
It does, and the at-risk kids that I work with have a lot of stresses, broken homes and things, and it sometimes relaxes them so much so that I'll have to walk around and, if they're drawing something that pertains to what I'm teaching, great. Sometimes I'll get a little off task and start drawing something else, and that's where you have to be careful with adding this, what they call a sketch noting piece into your classroom. Is sometimes the kids will get off task and they'll have this great masterpiece drawing, but they got into it too much. You know what I mean? And they didn't get what the teacher was trying to come across to them.
Okay. So, with your book, people can get a copy of this to kind of learn about what you're saying to focus people in on drawing and education.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And
How-
that's they can go to Amazon and get it. They can go to Barnes and Noble online. Just tapping into the Barnes and Noble market since I'm a independent publisher. And then they go to the website heavysketches.com, and there's some freebies on that website too. So.
Okay. So, how'd you come up with the title?
Well, the sketches part is easy, right? Because it's all
Uh-huh.
sketches. The heavy piece is kind of a dual purpose. It's a lot of the drawings are heavy, meaning they're dark. They're not dark, dark color wise. There's a lot jam packed into each page, so it becomes more like if you could say, heavy. And at the same time, I approach a lot of situations and issues that a lot of children's books don't do, with environmental and pollution, those kind of things that, GMOs, where some of the other publishers want to stay away from those. And that's not a book that a student, an 8th grader, is going to pick up. They're not going to pick up something on global warming. Usually it's really dry and boring, but if you can sneak it in here and talk to them about it in a fun manner, but get them to think. So that's where the heavy comes from.
Okay. Wow. So, how long did it take you to get this book all together?
Well, to compile it together, about 2 years. And as I compiled it together, took pieces from all my other drawings that I've had and kind of a
30
collage way, I had to add some new drawings. So I actually had to go back and start drawing again because, one page didn't have enough octopi on it. I had to draw a couple more. So it got me back into the drawing again.
Okay. Great.
Now, were you ever surprised by the number of people who actually do doodle?
I guess since I'm a doodler myself, I didn't know why everybody wasn't doing it. So, but now that I'm older and I go around and I'm talking to schools and doing some book fairs and things, I notice a lot of the adult males come to me, 30, 40 years old, and these kids are buying the book, but they're coming over to me and buying the book because this is what they did in class too. They sketched, they doodled, they got in trouble, and it's so funny to see their faces as I tell them how I made this. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, I wish I would have saved all my drawings." And it's kind of a funny thing how it's kind of come about.
Have you noticed too, like you had said, a lot of guys that you notice as well? Have you noticed whether it's more guys that doodle or ladies or kind of a
I
mixture?
used to think it was the guys. Because I used to be into the monsters and I would draw all this stuff, and now that I'm can look at it from an adult and look back, and I'm seeing these girls come up to me in these book fairs with their little sketchbooks. This whole anime thing that's come about has taken the girls a lot, and they're seems to be equal 50-50 now, which is just as good, which is great for me to go into the schools. It's not that I'm just talking to the boys,
Yeah.
Right. And how about these individuals who do doodle? Do they get further along artistically, or is doodling kind of completely different than most other kind of art?
Well, that's a good question. The guys who love art and the girls, those are the kind of kids that'll have to be like, hey, you can finish it at home. Let's keep going on with the notes and just leave your outline right there and finish later. Then there's other students who never thought that they could draw, which sketching and doodling can be just making fonts bigger and borders and different things. So I also try to encourage those students who don't think that they can draw. That you can do something. It doesn't need to look like the person next to you. And a lot of times they'll have really great ideas that I'll get up and I'll share with them. It might not be. I mean, nowadays you don't have to draw to be. I use that as the Cartoon Network, not only TV shows. There's a lot of cartoons that the artwork's not that great. It just so happens that it's just a cartoon that's on TV and people watch it. So it could be a stick person. The Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a perfect example. I don't know if you're familiar with that book, but it's a bestseller, 12 sequels, and it's just, pretty much a stick figure. So it's a little bit for everything, for everybody that they can do.
You never know where your doodles will lead.
Never know.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Red, for talking with us. We really appreciate it. And again, tell us the name of the book and how people can get a copy.
Well, Heavy Sketches is the first one, and we just came out with the Heavy Sketches Volume 2 a month ago. And you can go to heavysketches.com, read up more about it, read about what I do in the classroom. You can go to Amazon, and you can also go to Barnes & Noble online.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you talking with us
Yes,
today.
indeed.
Thank you.
And I won't feel bad about doodling anymore.
That's right. That's right. Save them.
You're going to own it.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.